Gamers, it has happened again. Many of you may remember that last week I put out a video called the greatest Ratchet and Clank 1 speedrun of all time so far. Well, in the past week, not only has it been beaten, it has been totally destroyed. Former Ratchet and Clank 1 NG Plus world record holder Franzcorr came back to the category once Ricky beat him, and he has since taken the category by storm. I cannot wait to show you. If you haven't seen it already, Ricky's Ratchet and Clank 1 NG Plus run was 18 minutes and 50 seconds. Franz has lowered the world record this week by 20 seconds. The world record is now 18 minutes, 30 seconds. That is an unbelievable speed run. And I wanted to take a second to break down some of the best moments for all of you right here and now. But before we begin with that, I do have a little bonus clip I'm going to show you right here at the very beginning. Normally, we content creators save this stuff for the end, but I wanted to show you. This was, I want to say, the day or two after Ricky got the 1851, or the 1850. This is Franzcorr right here. He's on world record pace, as you can see. 1843. Here's the final button. I don't know if you can see my mouse. Here it is. The final button at the very, very end of Velden 2. Look what happens. Look what happens here. There we go. That was a little laggy at first, but he stops the timer when he presses the input for the button, and then the button doesn't go down. Such a tragic way to lose what would have been in 1847, but he has since more than made up for it. I want to dive into this a little bit. So for those of you who don't know, Franzcorr is not exactly a new name in the Ratchet 1 scene. He has been around for, I want to say, a couple years now, like 2 to 3 years at this point. It's been a little bit. He picked it up after Ricky got the 1934 way back in the day, and Franz slowly started chipping away more and more until he got to the very, very top of the game. And he's just been on a tear ever since. Franz is the kind of player, for those of you unaware, who does extremely short, extremely efficient bursts of runs. Now, what do I mean by that? Franz will grind this category maybe a couple weeks out of every year, but when he goes in, he goes in. We're talking huge grind sessions, tons of offline practice, constant refinement of the game, or of his gameplay. And I wanted to take a second. We're going to start with Kerwan because I think this is just... I picked 5 of the most beautiful sections of this speedrun, in my opinion. I just want to break them down for you. I try to pick different sections than I picked in the previous video just so you can cross-compare, kind of see what certain runners do differently than other runners. So I wanted to pick Kerwan because I thought this was just brilliant. I mean, just from beginning to end. So at the very beginning, we start with a walloper into a side flip. And remember, keep in mind that what Franz is doing here, he's pausing as the walloper hits terminal velocity. Is that the term for it? I'm not a big physics person, but essentially the point of the walloper, when he punches and he has the most forward momentum, the most forward velocity, he pauses and uses an in-level movie to store this momentum. So he comes out of it with the side flip. And look at that. Doesn't even need a double jump. Just a very well calculated single jump to get back to the ledge here. And again, look at this. So much momentum being kept through here. So much confidence with what he's doing. Another single jump after a double jump, PDA, and an infinite jump here. He gets the helipack. And this is actually interesting. He actually messes up his movement here. The efficient movement here. You're supposed to walloper. And you're supposed to do a sliding walloper. So that's the difference between a sliding walloper and a standing walloper. When you play the in-level movie, if you hold down the start button as the in-level movie begins playing, Ratchet will keep his forward momentum through his grounded state. But if you let the cutscene play for just a brief period of time, Ratchet will stay in place. So that's the difference between a standing walloper and a sliding walloper. He does the sliding walloper correctly, but then look at this. You're supposed to do a midair long jump out of this. Franz ends up getting a side flip instead, but recovers beautifully despite messing up that very, very slight movement. Look at that. Look how efficient these PDA side flips are. Doesn't even have to worry about getting a whole lot of height. He knows that if he just does 6, he'll get to the top of the ledge no matter what. Here, he keeps his momentum through all of these side flips and goes across this staircase. Look how beautiful that looks. Just so much confidence in what he's trying to do here. I want to take a look at that one more time. Look at this. So he goes to the staircase, a nice double jump here into a side flip. Very well timed. And then look at that. Barely any time at all before he gets going here. And just so you all know, what he's doing here, this is a strat called Yondo Train. So, Yondo Lash was the runner who found this. A long time ago, we used to do a way slower version of the strategy where we would try to bait the guy into attacking us and then shooting a missile and then hitting us with the missile as the train cutscene begins. Yondo Lash found this strat where if you long jump just in line with this pillar and slowly pan your camera to the right, once you land, the train sequence will begin, and look at this. The guy doesn't even have to move anywhere. He's just going to fire the missile, and the missile's going to take a straight line. It's going to hit Ratchet, and once it hits Ratchet, well, I don't know if it's a damage boost, but the damage allows Ratchet to move through the cutscene. So the cutscene activates, Franz gets hit by a missile here, and now look at this. He's moving while the train cutscene is happening. It's a very, very cool strategy. He even does a swag side flip here and knocks this guy off the edge, just to make sure that there's no buffoonery happening of any sort. And now look at this beautiful movement right here at the very end. So, a mid-air long jump, another mid-air long jump, very quick turn. He actually gets to the infobot location before the infobot even lands. Look at that. You can see he's waiting about a half second. Turns around. In that half second, finds the time to turn around as he's collecting the infobot. And look at that. Perfectly spaced long jump and mid-air long jump to go through the crack there. And that's the end of Kerwan. I mean, that was... And somehow, he's had a goal that was 1.8 seconds faster. I don't know if you can see that. Let me move my webcam for a second. He saved 2.3 seconds out of a possible 4.1. That means that his gold is a second and a half faster than that. Could you imagine? I mean, I can barely even imagine going that fast to begin with on Kerwan once, let alone to be able to move this quickly, this consistently. I want to jump ahead to Blarg because I wanted to show you all. I wanted to take a second. If you may remember, in the last video, I gave you a little quiz. In the last video of this nature, when I was analyzing Ricky's run, I gave you all a little quiz. I want to give you all another little quiz because this movement actually took me by such surprise. Now, before I can give you this quiz, I'm going to demonstrate, or I'm going to allow Franz to demonstrate, rather, what you do at the very beginning of this planet. So, normally, what I see runners do here, they do a mid-air long jump. He does a quick little short hop here, because believe it or not, this is actually faster than turning Ratchet proper. Whenever you want to move Ratchet in different directions, it's better to short hop and turn Ratchet in the air. A lot of you may remember if you played these games before, it's not exactly tank controls. Like, you know, you have to like move the character before you can move them move them side to side before you can move them forward. It's not exactly like that, but there is like a short little semicircle you have to make, and whenever you try to change directions, I forget what that term is called. I know it exists in Dota 2. Any of you Dota 2 players, you may know what I'm talking about. Maybe you'll know the name of what I mean, but like how you can't just go boom left, boom right. You know, you have to go like tiny circle to go to the left, tiny circle to the right. Regardless, I don't want to get too caught up on that detail. So, short hop and then mid-air long jump. And normally what I see a lot of runners do, they'll do another long jump or another mid-air long jump. I want you to try to picture in your mind what Franz is going to do here. I'll give you a couple of options. So, option A, Franz does a double jump right here to get inside this little area and turns Ratchet mid-double jump to do another short hop and land exactly where he needs to inside the escape pod. Option B, Franz will do a side flip and short hop out of the side flip, single jump out of the side flip and land in the escape pod. And C, Franz will actually completely just teleport. just warp all the way into the bot. I couldn't think of a good third option. It's basically just between those two. I kind of gave away that it's not going to be a long jump or a mid-air long jump, so I kind of ran out of options. The option is actually answer B. If you didn't already know, look at how beautiful this spacing is. I literally never seen anyone do this before. Look at that. Look at that. And this is exactly what he's doing here. Let me go back just a second here. So this side flip perfectly gets him where he needs to be inside this little tube. And he very slightly changes his position as he's jumping. Now, a lot of people don't know this. You can activate this pod right here from outside of the pod if you're hugging the inside of this wall. So that's exactly what Franz does. He like hugs the very, very edge of this wall and presses triangle. You can see, look at that. You can see for like maybe a couple of pixels. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, like 4, or not 4 pixels, 4 frames, I mean to say. You can see for like 4 frames the triangle menu came up. Franz had that perfectly timed. Takes the escape pod over, and I also want you to see this because I had literally never seen anyone do this before either. This is apparently a new setup that I don't know about. Normally what you do here, you have to clip through the wall here to get to the infobot. So Franz is going to take a line right here. Normally what we do, at least what I know how to do, you jump on top of this little segment right here. Like you see how, or not like right here, but like you see how there's these 2 little like hatches on the door. There's 2 hatches that are exactly the same over here. You jump on the bottom hatch, and what you do is, at least what I personally do, I would tap L1 to center the camera behind Ratchet, and then hold L1 afterwards. And what it does is it just readjusts the camera in a way that makes the clip super easy. Watch what Franz does here. No setup necessary, just holds L1, chucks a decoy, and then just clips right through. That is utterly mind-blowing to me. And then no lag here whatsoever, just throws another decoy down, moves through. I don't even know how to do that, frankly. I should ask around and try to figure out exactly how that's done. I've been running these games for how many years, and I don't even know how to process that. So that was crazy. I wanted to share that with all of you just so you could see that. I just thought that was totally unreal. And I wanted to pick a pretty unconventional planet here. I wanted to pick Gaspar. Just because I wanted to show you the depths of creativity that can be exhibited in a run like this. Where even in these small sections that seem like they don't matter very much, you can still find ways to eke out extra seconds of time save over the competition. And I figured this is a perfect planet to show that. So once Franz lands here on Gaspar, what he's going to do is he's going to long jump over to here. And then mid-air long jump off of that. Now, if you have a perfect mid-air long jump, you'll go over this little, I don't know if it's a mountain or a volcano, or it's a volcano. There's clearly lava there. You can mid-air long jump over this volcano. I mean, a runner who's still working on their mid-air long jumps may not be able to consistently get over there. At the very top levels, it's just a given that you're going to be able to mid-air long jump over this volcano. And so that's exactly what Franz does. Carries his momentum into a lava bounce. And now look at this. I love this little movement section right here. I just think this is so creative. Let's get an instant replay on that because there's just a lot that's happening right there. So, lava bounce. Into taking some of this leftover momentum and translating it into a neutral canceled side flip. Long jumping onto this plant and canceling the long jump with a PDA just so that he can exit out of the PDA and do another midair long jump over here. 3 PDA side flips, carries his momentum into the helmet cutscene and side flips directly out of it. Look at that perfect spacing. Look at this absolutely perfect spacing. Beautiful neutral canceled side flip right there to just barely cut the lip of this platform. If he had gone even just a little bit slower or canceled it just a little bit sooner or messed up that spacing even just a little bit, he would have landed on top of this ledge right here. He would have landed. You can see that. Look how close his foot is to landing. Just like, you know, a little scoosh back, he lands on top of there, loses all of his speed, and then has to fall off, which doesn't lose too much time. But the idea here, right, at the very top levels, you want to be minimizing as many of these small time losses as possible. So even a second and a half time loss like that is still just too much. Franz perfectly plays it, opens up the PDA right as Ratchet's feet touches the lava, which causes him to immediately death abuse, and he's out of there. And if you can believe it, he still loses time there. Despite how absolutely gorgeous that looked, that's still 1 second off of his gold, which in my opinion, is another testament just how ridiculously optimized this category is. Next section I wanted to show you, and I actually showed this a little bit in Ricky's run. If you haven't seen that video, please make sure that you go check that out so you can follow along with the full storyline of what's happening here. But I wanted to show you Hoven, because Franz's Hovens are some of the ballsiest things I've ever... It's like one of the ballsiest planets I've ever seen a speedrunner do in my entire life. So check this out. So at the very beginning of Hoven, you're going to mid-air long jump over here, and then Franz does what are called infinite long jumps. Now, there's only specific surfaces that you can infinite long jump over. If you don't know what this concept is, you're taking... let me see if I can get my controller to demonstrate. So what you're doing is you are inputting a long jump. So for example, just R1 and X, and then you're inputting a side flip. So R1, X, and like right or left. I tend to do left, but it obviously just depends on where you need to go. If you need to go more to the right, you're going to hit the right. If you need to go more to the left, you're going to hit the left. And then you're basically just inputting this over and over. And so and you actually, funnily enough, only need to hit the X button on the very first jump. I don't know why, but that's just a part of the coding. So what Franz is doing here is essentially long jumping and then going between R1 and R2. At least that's what... I'm not 100% sure if that's what Franz does. Some runners mash R1 like their life depends on it. Like I know, for example, the Rixer, I don't know if he still does that, but that's what he did in the very, very beginnings of him learning how to infinite long jump. He would just mash the absolute crap out of R1. I can't mash that fast. So I do R1, R2. But just to give you all a demonstration of what exactly is happening here, it's chaining. Infinite long jumps are chaining together long jump into side flip into long jump into side flip over and over and over and over and over. So it can only be done on specific surfaces. It can be done over the mud on Umbrus. It can be done over the mud on Velden 2. It can be done over the water on Rilgar, and it can be done over this icy little patch, this icy little lake here on Hoven. So that's exactly what Franz is doing here. So let me show this again. Mid-air long jump into infinite long jump and cancels the long jump perfectly. He's not just aiming in any random spot. He has to specifically aim for this section right here because the turret at the very top of the planet that you have to go into for the ship fight, it does not check your Y coordinate. It doesn't matter where you are, if you are, you know, above the turret, right in the turret, or below the turret. As long as you are in the same... I guess X-axis and Z-axis. I don't really exactly know how depth works in these games. I'm kind of just making things up as I go along. But if you are on the same vertical plane as the turret, no matter where you are, you will snap to the turret. So that's exactly what Franz does. He activates the turret from below, hops in here, and look how confident. I'm not even going to pause this. I just want you to see this in all of its glory. Breaks the first section before the ship even rounds the corner. Section number 2 drops almost immediately afterwards. He kills one ship, 2 ships, does sections 3 and 4, or 4 and 5, moves back to section 3 just to make sure that that's taken care of. Barely spends any time on this. Is aiming in the perfect spot. Breaks it. That is unbelievable to me. I will actually rewind this now. Look at this. So you have to aim, in order to break these as fast as possible, you have to aim in very, very specific spots. There's specific spots on these segments of the ship that take significantly more damage than other areas on the ship. So like, for example, if you were to just shoot this middle part right here, it would probably take about 3 times longer. Now, I don't know the exact math behind it. I know there are people in the community who do know the math behind this, and if any of you are watching this video, if you want to, feel free to drop a comment saying what the data is here. I'm sure we would all love it. We would all be very fascinated by that. But essentially, Franz is aiming in the exact perfect spot to break this thing open as soon as possible. And look at that. He kind of surprises himself. You can see he circles back because he's like, oh, wait a minute, I thought that was gonna... Oh, wait, no, I did make it explode. And by the time he's like rotating between these two, by the time he circles back here, he's already fired the perfect amount of shots to break these 2 sections. And the ship fight just ends. Like, that is insane. That is truly insane. I don't even know how to do that at all. I mean, I'm not a very good basis for comparison, so I should probably stop using myself as a basis of comparison. But, and this is a testament to how good that fight was. His best fight ever was only 0.6 seconds faster. To be able to replicate that sort of accuracy, that sort of speed. Sorry, give me a second. I'm just realizing now the window is is a little bit outside of the screen here. That might be a little bit better. And to be able to replicate a Hoven that beautifully, that fast, in a run this good. I'm pretty sure at this point, Franz is already ahead of his best run ever. And I don't know how many of you are serious speedrunners yourself, but when you know for a fact that you are on your best pace ever, the nerves start to settle in just a little bit more. For some reason, it's so much easier to play worse on your best pace ever. So you're even going to see here, I'm going to let this play. I'm pretty sure he actually checks his comparison right here. I'm going to move myself once again. He swaps, he you know, skips the cutscene. I think he's going to toggle his splits here. No, maybe I was wrong about that. Okay, I know there's one section of the run where he actually toggles his splits and he's like 2 or 3 seconds ahead of his best pace ever. I think it may have actually been after it works on 2 or maybe something like that. I forget exactly where it was. I've watched this run a few times now, but I don't have everything memorized about it. But I just think that that's absolutely incredible. Like the fact, that's what you have to do when you're on these kinds of runs. You kind of just have to play to what you've practiced. And if you mess up, you mess up, but at least you're trusting yourself, right? Like it's so much better as a speedrunner to lose a run because you trusted yourself than to slowly lose time, more and more time. Let the seconds roll by as you go through a speedrun because you're trying to make sure you play to not lose, right? You got to play to win. You can't play to not lose. That is not a winning strategy long-term when you speedrun. So anyway, I want to move on here to the final section of the run I wanted to show you. And it's a twofer. I wanted to show you Quartu into Fleet. Now, again, this is going to be a direct basis of comparison against Ricky because I showed you all Ricky's run, these couple of planets and that. I want to show you again how Franz tackles it because it's truly just mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing stuff. So he starts the same way as Ricky did with a walloper into some long jumps here with the PDA. And just look at this, man. We need an instant replay. You know what? Just for the sake of all of us who have nearly no idea what's going on here, I'm actually going to lower the playback speed a little bit, just to 0.75, just so we can get a little bit more time to see exactly what's going on here. So walloper into midair. Open up the PDA. Midair long jump again. Open the PDA. Glide. Long jump. Long jump again after another PDA open. Glide down. Oh my goodness. This is still going too fast. I'm not enough of a rap god for this. Oops, I'm sorry. Look at this again. I'm putting it in 0.5 now. Long jump, open up the PDA. Long jump, open up the PDA. Glide into a beautiful double jump into PDA side flips to get on top of this. This amazes me every time. And the fact of the matter is, like the idea that you have to go for this stuff when you're on this kind of a pace must be terrifying. I mean, I think at this point, Quartu is probably, if I had to guess, the biggest choke point for runners at the very top levels of this game. Because there's just so much you have to execute perfectly in such a small amount of time. And this is also really cool. I love this. Sometimes, at least this is what I believe Franz is doing here. Sometimes, if you just try to hold down triangle and press a direction to pull out a weapon, at least this also happens, for example, in Quest for Booty. I know when I've done runs, this sort of thing has happened. Sometimes if you just press a direction, like especially with, like, look at where the Devastator is on his quick select. It's in a very awkward spot of down left. Now, a lot of the times, especially when you're on world record pace, you have to very precisely hit this down left option. If you go a little too far down, he'll select the PDA instead of the Devastator. And if he goes a little bit too far to the left, you can see like I'm going mostly left and a little bit down. That might actually still pull out the Visibomb. So Franz does something very smart here, and I actually commend him for this. He starts by opening up the PDA or the quick select wheel by holding triangle. And he holds up. Now, you're probably thinking, why on earth would you hold up? As long as you can get the cursor on a weapon, it is so much easier to control it than it is to just raw select a weapon. So Franz holds up and rotates the analog stick to get to the Devastator perfectly. And remember, the Devastator is more optimal here than the Rhino. Even though you can use the Rhino to shoot the guy who is just beyond this wall, it's faster to do it with the Devastator. Or at least it's safer and theorized to be just a little bit faster. So, of course, Franz does it because if it's going to be better for a speedrun, why wouldn't you do it? So he pulls out the Devastator, fires, and then doesn't even have to worry about being inside the room here. As long as, even if you're just a little bit below the room here, the cutscene trigger is pretty huge, so it'll still activate. So he activates the cutscene from below, side flips, selects the Walloper, and punches into the slide. And now look at this. Beautiful long jump. Gives himself all the time in the world to select the PDA here. And then just does one PDA side flip to get up here. Absolutely stunning. And I want to jump ahead to Fleet as well because there's just some beauty. I remember why I want to show you Fleet. I want to show you Fleet because a lot of times I think when people see these sorts of speedruns, they think to themselves, wow, this must be unbeatable. Who the hell is ever going to beat this? This is perfect. I wanted to show you this particular section just to prove that Franzcorr is human. Just to prove that while this run is incredible, there's still room left for improvement. So, midair long jump here, beautifully spaced, and he throws the decoy down incorrectly. Now, a little fun fact about Franzcorr. Believe it or not, it doesn't matter whether you have the regular decoy or the gold decoy, as long as you play perfectly. But if you mess up a decoy clip, just like Franz did right here, there is one massive downside to having the gold decoy, which is that the gold decoy takes way longer to blow up. It takes like another rotation of ammo. So like you can see here, Franz hits the decoy once with the Tesla Claw, but then has to hit it like 3 times for it to blow up. If he had only done one decoy, not one decoy, a base decoys, it probably would have blown up on the very first Tesla Claw zap. You know what I mean? And so not only does Franz waste time by getting stuck in there, he then has to pull out the Tesla Claw and then blow up his intentional gold decoys. He knows very well that having the gold decoy in this exact option is much slower, but he has the gold decoys anyway because he wants to stunt on other runners that much. Unfortunately, it comes back to bite him in the butt cheeks here, but this is the price you pay for swag sometimes, you know? So, this whole excursion costs him, now, the way we're going to measure this, you're going to measure it based on, so he throws down the decoy and it lands, you can see, at the 20.5 second mark. Again, that's this number right, I don't know if you can see this. That's this number right here. That's the amount of time he spent on this segment already. Let me throw myself in this corner just so we can see it real quick. So the decoy doesn't go. And then you can effectively measure the time loss based on when the decoy lands again. So, you know, it's about 5.5, maybe in the ballpark of like upwards of 6 seconds. I might have paused a little late, so it probably is about 5.5 seconds. So that's 5.5 seconds gone there. But look at this best possible time. This best possible time is still 18:21, and the world record at this exact moment was 18:45. He's 17 seconds ahead. So thankfully, you know, sure, when you're in this position, you might feel a little like, ugh, of course I made best run of my entire life, and this is when I make the mistake. But let me tell you something. A mistake is bound to happen pretty much on any given run. There will always be a small thing, a small error. Like, this isn't a major mistake by any means. But for Franz, it is. 5 seconds on any one spot is a major mistake. And so, you know, some major mistake will happen somewhere. At the very least, he didn't die. There is solace in that. So let's continue on. And this could honestly affect the mental of a speedrunner as well. When they're in this moment, they're like, oh my God, I'm on the best run of my life. I just made a dumb mistake. But look how Franz just recoups from this immediately. He doesn't let it phase him. He's just, all right, I got a job to do. I got to keep going. Mid-air long jump, cancels the mid-air long jump into a PDA, glides over here, and look at this beautiful spacing. Doesn't even bother wasting time opening up the PDA more to build up more speed. He knows what he has to do and just gets there. Like, beautiful movement to do under pressure. Absolutely beautiful. And look at this. Nearly perfect spacing here as well to get over to the end of Fleet. Pops a decoy down, pops through the wall, activates the cutscene. And, you know, I'm taking a look at his best possible time here. Maybe not the best Fleet movement ever outside of that, because he lost, like, you know, another 1.5 seconds to quote-unquote perfect movement. But I mean, like, again, you know, when you're in this position, you take what you can get. Sometimes in the end game of a speedrun, it's not just about, you know, sometimes, you know how I said before that, like, you have to do what you've practiced, right? And sometimes you just have to be willing to accept what comes, you know? Franz could say, oh, man, I lost this time. Like, this run isn't perfect anymore. It's not about getting the run. It's about getting a run. And Franz is on one hell of a run here. Now, of course, his Velden 2 movement, you can watch it for yourselves if you'd like. I would go so far as to say it was quote-unquote nothing too special. It was basically just like he had a job to do. He had to just play Velden 2. He had to not mess up, and that's exactly what he did. And it ends in this beautiful, incredible speedrun. Right here at the final button press of 18 minutes and 30 seconds. Now, as far as where I would rank this run in the history of Ratchet and Clank speedruns, I think it is very, very near the top. I think you can argue that maybe there's like 1 or 2 runs that have ever been better than this. Maybe. But this is like an easy top 3 run in Ratchet history, if not higher than that, if not top 2 or top 1. Some could possibly argue this is the greatest Ratchet run that's ever happened. And I don't even think those assessments are that far off the mark. I really don't. This run is incredible. In an 18-minute category, he was only 39 seconds off of his sum of bests, which means that on average, he lost a little over 2 seconds per minute of gameplay. Now, as far as the future of where this is going to go, as a matter of fact, remember how I said that Franz grinds in bursts? Franz is still going. He actually just streamed today and yesterday. He got this run 2 days ago, and he's still streaming. And you want to know what he did as soon as he was done with runs here? He said, wow, that was sick. He maybe took like 5-10 minutes, just kind of like let the adrenaline pass, savor the moment a little bit, and he dove right back into runs. And that's a champion's mindset right there, if you ask me. I can't wait to see what Franz is capable of lowering this to. I mean, it's pretty obvious at this point, even just from seeing that Drek's fleet, that 18-2x is doable. Will it be easy? Absolutely not. Is there anybody outside of Franzcorr in the entire world who can do it at this moment? No. But I also just want to take a second to say that if you're watching this speedrun and you're saying to yourself, I could never do something like this, I want you to understand that everyone starts somewhere. The person, you know, when Franz started running this game, I don't think he thought to himself, I'm going to be the one to be the best Ratchet and Clank 1 runner of all time someday. You know, nobody realistically thinks that. Or at least people who will become good long-term runners do not think that. They just think to themselves, I'm going to start because this is fun and I like it. And then you push yourself a little bit more each day. And you challenge yourself in new ways, and you never get content. You continue staying hungry for more success. And it's culminated into this incredible speedrun. And so for those of you at home who say, I could never do something like this, who knows? You know, someday Franz is going to run this category. He's going to get an amazing world record. He's going to step away from the game for a little bit more. And then who knows who could rise to the occasion? Maybe it could be even you watching this right now. Maybe someday it could be you. So, you know, I just wanted to say that, you know, speedrunning in general is just an incredible hobby, and it's made even more special through incredible achievements like this. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this recap. It was a little bit longer than I thought it was going to be, honestly. I didn't think I'd be able to get more than like 20 minutes out of talking about this, but here we are at the 35-minute mark. If you made it this far, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the thumbnail as well. You know, my designer and I, Raf, Stacked Design as he's known, that's his username. Raf, of course, is short for Raphael, in case you're wondering. It's spelled R-A-F. We are really, really working hard on trying to improve the content of this channel and make it accessible enough for all of you to want to watch. If you liked this video, if you liked the thumbnail, please let us know. And I want you all to know as well that while I'm making these videos, Raph isn't just making thumbnails for me. He's working on a very, very huge project that I think you're all going to love. So stay tuned for that. Ideally, we'll have that done maybe within the month. Who knows? It's going to be soon, though, and it's going to be a huge project. But until next time, have a fantastic rest of your day, and thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video.